Hey everybody, so here's what we're doing. This is a video about these rubric parts so that we can understand how the rubrics are working. We're going to start here with thesis and claims because even though it's the second column, it's the easiest to see. It's just a connection between your thesis and your topic sentences to make sure that they make sense together. And then as we move down to the organization, which is the most important because it's the most work, hopefully you start to see how all of these things work together in a good paper. So here's the A, B, C, right? You guys have this rubric. This is for the thesis and claims. If it's a good thesis, it's clear and direct. You're going to see versions of this thesis that are not clear and direct. Um, that we don't have a list of claims. One of these does have a list of claims. And the topic sentences are active analysis. And as we move down, you're going to start seeing problems as we shift down. The next part of the rubric is the organization part. So here is our organization part of the rubric. And we remember that, okay, we have a topic sentence, and that topic sentence is supporting a thesis. And it's just deductive reasoning, right? The thesis is a bigger version, a more abstract version of the topic sentence. But beyond that, we have to prove the topic sentence correct using evidence and discussion. And our discussion should be tying our evidence to our topic sentence and to our thesis statement. And we're going to play with this, and I'll show you guys some examples as we move forward. But as that breaks down between this, where you, for example, might lose evidence or you might lose things, it's going to be important to start to see how this all works. So this is the simple outline of one body paragraph. I have another video moving through the organization a little bit more fluidly in a paragraph format. You guys can watch that if you want, but I also wanted to talk about it here because this makes it so clear how the organization must work. So on the left, we have my thesis statement. While I enjoy reading narratives, I struggle to read things I find boring or difficult. And our first topic sentence is about narratives. And the evidence I'm going to use is Adichie, right? Her story that poses questions about what is this thing around your neck and do I come back to America really pushes me to want to read the story and read more of her stories. And I really want to answer those questions, so I delve deeper into the story to try and figure out the answer to those questions. That's all grand, but notice how this topic sentence is just a third of that thesis. When you guys were writing 5-paragraph format in high school, you were required to write a list, and that's not what we really want to do anymore because as your papers get longer and longer, the lists become harder and harder to manage. And so we want to scale up by having more abstract terms in our thesis statement. And in this case, you can start to see that those abstract terms like I enjoy reading narratives, enjoy being very abstract. What does it mean to enjoy? I can play with that and define it in several ways. Here, being driven is an enjoyment, right? Being bored is abstract. Difficult, things can be difficult in different ways, is sort of abstract. And so we can put this into several categories. And I'm doing that as I move through. As you guys continue in college, you'll start to be able to do that where you'll be like, this is what I enjoy about reading this narrative, and here's other ways that I enjoy reading narratives. And you could have 4 or 5 paragraphs just about enjoying reading narratives, or 4 or 5 paragraphs about what makes something boring, whether it's the language or the content or the author's voice. Like, you can develop that. So the topic sentence is just a smaller, more refined. I'm defining what I enjoy about narratives, and then I'm proving it with my evidence and discussion. And then at the end of that, I have a transition that ties the two together, right? I start with conversely, Bacon's Nova Organum does not have a narrative. Notice I don't end there, right? And you'll start to see how I'm playing with this structure to make it not work anymore. But this is how the organization should work. Everything flows together. Everything is proving some other part or connecting parts. Nothing is extra, right? There's no details that aren't supporting my thesis. I've had a few conversations with students recently about, Trevor, what if I just add this paragraph in? And I'm like, is it part of your thesis? No. Either add it to your thesis add discussion so it connects to your thesis, or lose it because it has to all flow together. Let's take a look at the B one, and we can start to see how I'm changing things to move it down the scale. So notice the transition changed. And so this is going to obstruct my organization, right? Because now I'm not working to connect Bacon's Nova Organum. I'm not even talking about the fact that it lacks narrative. I'm just saying, as sort of a side, that one was boring. And that connection is going to mess with my organization. I also have done other things, and you'll watch in the other videos, that you can start to see how this breaks down and starts moving me towards those B categories. But that's the big deal here, is that I've messed with my transition, and messing with my transition, I've separated my paragraphs. They're now two separate things that don't have to do with each other. I want to make that connection clear in that transition, and it's moving me down into that B category in organization. The other thing to notice is the thesis changed. I've turned the thesis. You guys tend to do this a lot, and that's not a criticism. You use the I will discuss, and we don't need that structure unless we're doing an empirical study, right? Where you're going out and you have to say what you did. All it does is it tells me you're going to discuss something. It doesn't import what you're discussing. I often will tell my students English is an analytical language, which means the first thing you say is the most important thing. And here, the most important thing is that you're discussing it, not what you're discussing. And then I've changed the active nature of that thesis to being about I like and dislike versus I excel because and I struggle because. I've robbed that thesis of a lot of power to analyze by just using these really blanket terms of like and dislike. This isn't about what you like and dislike. This is about what skills you have and what skills you lack. So those changes are really disrupting the paper's flow and logic. It's going to affect both the topic sentence relationship, because now narratives drive me to want to read doesn't really match that I like them, right? That doesn't work the same as it did in the previous one. And so just be paying attention to how you phrase it. The words matter. Let's look at the third one, because I just get rid of the transition, and that disrupts all the logic, right? And then I also change the claim here. So in this one, again, I just left the thesis alone, and then I come into narrative's really good for reading. How could I analyze that? How is that helping me analyze my skills? What is really driving me with the narrative? The discussion no longer makes any sense, right? Because I'm just saying they're really good, but this isn't, I never even use the word good anymore. And so be paying attention to how you structure this. Those structures are going to be very important. Notice how slight changes in topic sentences and thesis statements affect the whole paper. If I see a mistake in a topic sentence or a thesis statement, I'm going to focus there. But if I see a mistake that is deeper, it's going to affect the whole organization of the paper. That's going to be a bigger problem, and that's where you're going to see your grade fall even more. Hopefully these videos help you. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out, and I'd love to help you out. Otherwise, I hope this helps, and I hope you guys are starting to see how to use these rubrics to improve your writing, how to use these tests, the things that I'm showing you here, to make your writing better and subsequently make your grades better.